Welcome to the first ever episode of the Step by Step podcast, where we take you through the lives of young adults striving to be successful in the business world. Let me start by introducing myself. My name is Devon Johnson, and I'm the host of the Step by Step podcast. I created this podcast because I wanted to show you that there are still young people out there being successful. So what I'm going to do is I want to bring people onto this podcast every week that are maybe young and ambitious and driving to get to where they want to be. I also wanted to show you a little bit about how I got to where I'm at. So all of this was inspired by my own personal journey. Realistically, like I hear all the time, you need to just take that first step, right? Just do it, right? That's what Nike says. Nike even says, just do it. That's their slogan. But what does that actually look like? That was a question that I continuously asked myself. What does that actually look like? So I knew that I was young, I'm ambitious, I have a lot of charisma behind me, and I knew I wanted to be something and I wanted to do something, but I just didn't know what that something was. So I just decided, you know what, I'm going to take that leap of faith and I'm going to do it. When I finally landed on what it was that I wanted to do and what it was that I was supposed to be doing, I kept asking myself, like, okay, now how do I do that, right? I mean, I think that everybody has a dream and has a goal of what they want to do, but they just really don't know how to do that. So once I decided, hey, the entrepreneurial route is what I'm going to do and the route that I'm going to take, I really had to figure out, okay, now what business is it that I want to start, right? I knew I wanted to be an entrepreneur, and I knew I wanted to go make money and be successful and impact other people's lives, but I just didn't really know what it was that I was supposed to be doing and what widget I was going to be using to get to where I wanted to be. The first thing that I did is I went and I sought knowledge. That was the very first thing that I did. I went and I found someone that was doing exactly what it was that I wanted to do. Not in maybe the industry that I wanted to do, but they were doing what I wanted to do. They were entrepreneur. They were successful at what they were doing. It was a track record of them being proven that they've done it. And I knew, okay, this is somebody that I want to be like in the industry and in the business that I want to do. So I sought knowledge. I called him, I texted him, I sat with him over and over again for about 8 months straight. So it took about 8 months of me just really like picking his brain and figuring out, okay, how did you get to where you were? What is it that you've done? Okay, you did what? You took this step. This is how you got there. Okay, perfect. So once I kind of got that knowledge base, and that kind of led me to know that, okay, like maybe I can do this. Like he did it when he was 24. He's basically did exactly what it was that I wanted to do. I can do this, right? So that's when I decided in my brain, like, hey, I can do this. I know I can. So the second step that I took is I went to my support staff, right? And kind of told them like, hey, I know that I can do this. Now I just need your support, right? So I went to my support staff with my wife, right? So my wife has got my back true and true. So I knew that if I go to her, she's going to be honest and upfront and give me the ins and outs of what's real and what's fake. But what I mean by support staff doesn't mean just go out and tell everybody what it is that you want to do, right? Because not everybody's going to actually support you. Some people are going to maybe try to tell you like you can't do that, you shouldn't do that, or they're going to build you up so big that like they kind of push you to make a bad decision. So there's two sides of the spectrum here. Like you need to have people that you can lean on, and you need to have people that you can trust their opinion, but also it's like you have to be willing to like maybe take some of it with a grain of salt, because some people always don't have your best mind or your best interest in mind, but you have to be cognizant of that and know that as you're going into it. And also, just like I said, don't tell everybody what you're doing, because some people aren't for you. The third thing was deciding what business I wanted to go into. So at this point, I have the knowledge, I have the support. Now it's like, okay, what widget am I going to use? For me, that was power washing. So I decided to start a power washing company, right? It was low barrier of entry. There wasn't a lot of, it didn't have a lot of upfront cost to get into it. I also knew there wasn't a lot of like people who are super professional doing it. So that was something that could set me apart. And then I also knew that this is something that's easy to learn, right? So I knew there wasn't a lot of barrier to entry, but also I knew that maybe this wasn't going to be my long-term goal because of that barrier of entry. But I knew that it'd be a great place for me to start chasing my dream. The fourth thing that I decided to do was to cut out all the BS, all the extra noise in my life that was going to maybe hold me back from being successful had to go. It can no longer live rent-free in my brain. I know there's a lot of things out there that hold people back. It may look different for everybody else. It may be video games. It may be drinking. It may be smoking. It may be partying with your friends. It may be going out every Saturday night and blowing money. I don't know what it is that's holding you back, but there's things out there that hold everyone back. You have to cut out all those things if you really want to reach your dreams. And then the fifth thing was actually finally taking that step, right? So like I said earlier, everyone's going to tell you, oh, you just got to do it. You just need to take that step. But if you notice, before I even took that step, I did 4 other things. I sought knowledge. I went to my support staff. I figured out exactly what it was that I wanted to do. And then I cut out every other thing in my life that was going to keep me and hold me back from getting to my dreams. So the fifth thing is now actually what everybody would call taking that step, the outward appearance of what everyone sees, right? So now everyone sees me in the business world from their point of view, but they really don't know what it is that I've done to get to where I'm at. So that would be my fifth thing. My fifth thing was take that step to where people can actually finally see you stepping into the light of where you're supposed to be. With all that being said, I don't see why people wouldn't chase their dreams. For me, that's being an entrepreneur, right? For you, it may be being a teacher, it may be being a doctor, it may be being the head of marketing, or whatever that looks like for you. Do it, but also know that there's a lot of things that go into it. I think that path may look different for everybody, and that's why I kind of wanted to create this podcast so you can see somebody maybe in your shoes doing the things that you want to do, and let you know that, hey, like, if they can do it, I can do it. So this episode was literally just to tell you guys, hey, what this podcast is going to be about, and then also a little bit about who I am. As we go along this journey, we're going to dive more into who I am and also a little bit more into detail of how I got there. But also, every episode, we're going to have somebody on with me. I'm going to be interviewing them. I'm going to ask them questions. I'm going to pick their brain to give you the insight and the tools that you need so that you can be successful.